This is a regular meeting of the Oaklyn Board of Education. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Education was adopted at the reorganization meeting on January 6, 2026. Schedule and notice of said meetings has been posted at the rear interior window or of the exterior door of the administrative offices. Mailed to the Retrospect and the Courier Post and filed with the Borough Clerk of Oaklyn. All foregoing has been done within the time required by law in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. And a roll call.
All right. Stacy's absent. Ryan's Aiden.
Here.
We do a quorum. Sorry. Colleen. Here. No. Mrs. Marmion. Here. Mr. McMillan.
Here.
Mr. Tavy. Okay.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. No executive session at this time, so we're going to move on to our first of two presentations, starting with our Hawk Heroes.
Good evening, everyone. Look at these shining stars out there. So good to see you all tonight. As you know, I'm Miss Bolden, and I'm here to present the Hawk Hero Awards. Our trait for this month was respect. So these are our respectful students sitting in front of us today. And at OPS, we define respect as thinking and acting positively towards yourself and others. Respectful students listen closely, use kind words, accept differences, and show care and consideration for themselves and others. Good job. I'm going to call you up one at a time, starting with kindergarten. And when you come up, I'm going to ask that you just stand here with me until everybody's up here. And we're going to have our nice certificates in our hand. And we're going to take a picture this way, and then we're going to flip around, and we're going to take a picture that way, okay? So, starting with kindergarten, we have Abigail Kurth. Come on up. Did Abigail make it today? Nope, Abigail's, sorry. Abby didn't make it, or if she comes in late, we will add her to the list. But I will read what Miss Koshi, her kindergarten teacher, wrote about her. Abby cares deeply for her classmates and friends. She's a positive role model, a ball full of sunshine, always aiming to please her teachers and those close to her. She follows classroom rules and understands why it is important to follow them. Abby is respectful and is sweet to everyone around her, Miss Koshi. So let's give Abby a big round of applause in case she's watching at home. All right, then we're on to first grade. Grady Hamilton, come on up. Okay, you're gonna do this. Ready? You're gonna be my first one in line. You're gonna flip around, and we're gonna hold this like this. Everybody can see. Okay, this is what Mrs. Stibbert had to say about Grady. Grady demonstrates respect through the positive energy he brings each morning. He consistently reminds both peers and staff how wonderful they are. Grady respects the rules of games even when things don't go his way. He follows the school rules and understands the reasons behind them. He takes turns, shares with his classmates, and is always willing to lend a helping hand. Grady treats everyone with care and makes our classroom a happy and welcoming place. Mrs. Stibbert. All right, stay right there, Grady. Your friend's going to join you next. Second grade, come on up, Aylin Acosta. I don't know who to hug first. Hugs. Woohoo! All right, Grady, turn around, and Aylin's going to stand next to you now. Ready? Let's see what Miss Stibbert had to say about Aylin. Aylin is a student who consistently shows respect towards both her peers and staff. She greets everyone with the warmest smile no matter their differences and helps create a welcoming environment for all. Aylin follows school and classroom rules carefully and encourages her peers to do the same. always making sure everyone feels included. She uses kind words, listens when others are speaking, and demonstrates manners throughout the day. Her respectful attitude and thoughtful actions make her a wonderful role model in class. We are very proud of her, Mrs. Stibbard. Okay, let's go to our third grade Hawk hero. Parva Patel, come on up. Come on down here. Good job. Woo-hoo. Parva was also a reward winner for our Reflex Frax Challenge, I will mention, the highest earner of green lights. Parva consistently shows respect for others by listening attentively when classmates or teachers are speaking. Parva always waits patiently for his turn to talk. He treats others with kindness and consideration. Whether working in groups or during free time, Parva uses polite language, shares materials wisely, and includes others in activities. He also shows respect for authority and classroom expectations. He follows every direction carefully, completes tasks responsibly, and contributes positively to routines. Parva respects the learning environment by taking care of his classroom materials and keeps his space neat and organized. Just what we like to see, a clean desk, right, Parva? Parva's respectful behavior stands out through his kindness, attentiveness, responsibility, and positive interactions with others. Mrs. Magro. Good job, Parva. On to fourth grade. Maris Mellon, come on up. Okay, my big kids now, right? Maris is consistently respectful to everyone she interacts with each day. She's kind, thoughtful, and always speaks to peers and adults with a calm and polite tone. She shows respect to her teachers by following rules, listening attentively, and responding positively to the feedback. Maris is honest and responsible, and she treats her classmates the way she wants to be treated. She's a wonderful example of what it looks like to show respect in and out of the classroom. Miss Guarino. Good job, Maris. And last but not least, our big fifth grader, getting ready for middle school almost, David Hayes. Come on up, David. Yes, sir. So for David, Mr. Weisenstein wrote, throughout the year, David has consistently been respectful to both peers and teachers. David has earned the respect of his peers, which can be a difficult thing to do at this age. He's also earned the respect of all of his teachers. David always demonstrates good self-control. Even if he makes a mistake, he always admits it and takes full accountability for his actions. It's a pleasure having David in our classes this year, and that was Mr. Weisenstein and Mrs. Hart writing that about you. So congratulations, David. Look at that, I knew you'd get here. Let's head back to kindergarten for a moment, and we're going to recognize Abigail Kurth again. Congratulations. We're going to read this again so Abby can hear it. Abby cares deeply for her classmates and friends. She is positive and a ball full of sunshine, always aiming to please her teachers and those close to her. She follows classroom rules and understands why it is important to follow them. Abby is respectful and is sweet to everyone around her. Miss Koshi. Congratulations, Abby. Okay, now what we're going to do is have you guys flip around. So just turn around, slide down a little bit. Abby, I'm going to bring you down here, sweetheart. We're going to put you in your orders. Slide all the way down, slide all the way down, slide all the way down.
Right here, love.
Right here, and we're going to move this all the way out of the way.
Smile big. You got a camera right there.
I thought I snuck out of that one this month.
Girls, huge round of applause. You guys are awesome. Okay, here's the last announcement. Your T-shirts came in, so we're going to schedule our pizza party and cupcake party for Tuesday when the library's open, and you'll get your T-shirts.
This pink bell.
I can get it in there for you, sweetie.
I can't
There
wait
you
to
go.
tell you, Mommy to go.
You can't wait?
Me too.
All right, guys, you can head back to your families, and that wraps up our All Hero presentation. Congratulations. bigger ones, I should say, ready for middle school.
Get you set back up for the rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Baldwin. And congratulations to our Hawk Heroes. It's time for our presentation number 2 of the night. It's not quite as exciting, but it is our budget presentation.
Yeah, so you don't hear the budget presentation? So exciting.
So good evening, everyone. The once packed room and those that are either currently watching online or who will watch later. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our theme for 26-27 is moving forward together. We're going to share where we are financially, where we're headed. But first, we'd just like to publicly thank our finance team as well as our administrative team at the Oaklyn School for working collaboratively in order to put together a budget that is not just balanced, but it honors the commitment that we have to our students, to our staff, and it is also aligned with the values of our community. So just wanted to publicly acknowledge that. Okay. As with all of our actions, they are always aligned with our mission and vision. In addition to being aligned with the core values of our district, core values being student success, equity, and inclusion, as well as team and family. These are the really driving force of the decision-making process. And so for the 26-27 school year, we have a few priorities. First and foremost is to improve the alignment of the administrative teams to better support our goals and our objectives. Actively engage our community in order to address the challenges related to infrastructure, not just facilities, but also technology, our changing world, being able to keep up with the pace is a continued challenge for school districts. Continue to identify additional opportunities to secure adequate and fair funding. Actively pursue additional revenue streams in order to support innovative student learning initiatives. Commit to supporting and retaining our dedicated faculty and staff. And then ultimately, continuation of access to high-quality early childhood education for all Oaklyn families. In the areas of curriculum, phased-in implementation of a new ELA or reading curriculum as we work collectively to align ourselves with the science of reading and eventually transition away from the Readers Writers Workshop model. Expanded use of our universal screeners to include math and ELA. This enables us to have better data and information used to make better decisions in the classroom, which aids our teachers and then helps us to really track and measure progress of our students and adjust instruction as appropriate. Continued focus on data-driven instruction aligned with our school goals as well as our board objectives, broken down by grade level and by student, and then ultimately strengthen our inclusive practices through the recommendations that we will be presenting next month from our Inclusion Task Force. So what is the budget challenge? In its most simplest terms, the cost to operate schools is increasing at a pace beyond the revenues that are available. For example, personnel over the last 5 years has increased by 23%. Health benefits for the 26-27 school year alone increased by 20%, and they have doubled over the last 5 years. Out-of-district tuition rates are relatively flat for the 26-27 school year. However, over the last 5 years, they've increased over 22%. Shared services for the upcoming year will increase roughly 5%, which includes our preschool expansion. And there's been a relatively flat in terms of utilities based on our participation in the Utilities Consortium. But over the last 5 years, we've seen an increase just in the cost of energy by roughly 58%. So what has been done to address these challenges? First and foremost, we've made it one of our goals and our missions in order to partner with different entities and organizations in order to actively seek additional revenues and additional support for our students and for our staff. We are participating in joint ventures for insurance in order to make sure that our health and wellness benefits for our employees are not just high quality, but are also at a quality price. We actively participate in a utilities consortium to make sure we're not overpaying for energy. We are also in a cooperative purchasing group to make sure that our instructional supplies and materials are at the lowest and most competitive pricing. We truly benefit from shared services between Collingswood and Oaklyn, and we'll continue to seek additional ways to improve our efficiency and lower our overall operating expenses. By partnering with our Oaklyn Public Works, we have lowered the cost of our trash removal. And then ultimately, we believe that by offering robust programming at the school level, that reduces the likelihood that we have to send students out of district and incur private tuition costs. In addition, the advocacy that has been demonstrated by our community members and by members of our board has helped to get us to this point. And so, as with previous years, we are going to ask for our community to continue to support the effort for fair school funding across the state of New Jersey, specifically because districts like ours are negatively impacted for two reasons: one, based on our size, and two, based on our geographic location of being in South Jersey. There have been technical reports that have been written. There have been opt-ed articles that have been written, all with the intent of putting pressure on our state lawmakers to actually not only address the school funding formula, but to create a better way in order to fund our schools that does not put the burden of schools at the feet of homeowners and taxpayers. We are active participants in the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective. And so these are, this is a regional organization primarily focused and home base in Camden County, but regional and growing, of concerned community members, including members of our board, members of our community, members of our staff, that are all working collectively in order to advocate at the state level for meaningful change to the finance formula. Public hearings have been taking place in Trenton for several years, and every hearing, every statement helps, brings attention to this issue. And ultimately, last year, as one of 150 school districts across the state of New Jersey, Oaklyn was able to participate in the tax levy incentive program, which was a one-time waiver of the 2% tax cap law. Based on the assessment of the board, there was a very measured, very thoughtful increase in the tax levy to be able to maintain the consistency of programs and services at a rate that did not disproportionately or adversely affect our citizens. And so what is the current status of funding? And so I'm going to hand this over to our business administrator, and she's going to take over from there.
Good evening. This screen just shows our projected enrollment. We're down about 3 kids in preschool. The 72 children that are represented on the screen is what we applied for more. That is what they awarded us. We're up about 16 children overall. District revenue right now, tax levy is the biggest portion of our revenue, so that's almost 67%, with state aid being 28.3%. And we do rely a little bit on our surplus balances, so managing the money year to year to make sure that we have savings at the end of the year to put put forth to next year's budget in a small district like Oakland is it's challenging, but it's also very important to make sure that we have something left over. And this is just for those of you that learn from pictures, like me. As far as your expenditures, 81% of the expenditures go directly to the classroom, which is where they should be. 10% is student services, so if you add those two numbers together, 91% is direct services to children in the district. 6% goes to maintaining this building, and 3% to administration. And again, a little picture. Year-over-year comparison. So tax levy in 24-25 is $6.2 million. We did participate in the tax levy incentive aid program in 25-26. Brought up to 6.8. We're at $7.3 million. Most of that jump in this school year is because of the healthcare adjustment. Our healthcare expenses exceeded or right in line with the school employee health benefit plan, which obviously is increasing astronomically. So they let you, for the increased cost, they let you increase taxes to. Unfortunately, it puts the burden back on the taxpayers to pay for the increased cost of health care, but it's an automatic increase to your tax levy. And what does this mean? Do you want me to keep going? Okay.
Okay. So what do all these numbers mean? As you just heard from our business administrator, the bulk of our budget goes to direct support to classrooms, and schools in general. The bulk of where schools spend their dollars are in people. And so reductions for the 26-27 budget, we will unfortunately be reducing one full-time position. We will also be making critical adjustments to our discretionary spending in the areas in order to maintain existing programs. We'll be making modifications with our, and doing a phased-in implementation of our English language arts curriculum, placing a premium and a value on our staff. We will be adjusting modifications to our progress monitoring tools in math. And then there'll be slight adjustments in terms of assemblies and programs and student recognition. We'll be seeking external partnerships in order to supplement those. There'll also be adjustments to classroom and technology updates, equipment and furniture, as well as it will require us to think differently about how we achieve opportunities for inclusion and the least restrictive environment for our students with IEPs. Oops. Okay. And so the budget timeline, and so going back to March, on March 27th, we successfully submitted the budget to the Camden County Office of Education. We've continued to have conversations with building administration about the impact so that could inform planning and setup moving into the summer. The budget submission was approved on April 20th. We will be going out to bid for summer projects shortly after this meeting, with the public hearing being today on April 30th. And so in May, we will open up the 26-27 budget to allow the leadership team on campus to begin entering in requisitions and really setting the tone and planning for their summer work. And then we will be issuing employee contracts by May 15th. And so what are next steps? Well, first and foremost, we would like to continue to encourage our community to speak up, to ensure that that Oaklyn continues to receive a fair share of funding. We will be sending out letters or templates for letters to make sure that Oaklyn is able to continue to contact local and state legislators, and then advocating for fair funding. In terms of community support, making sure that we're welcoming new Oaklyn families that are transitioning to our schools in the 26-27 school year, just by inviting them to upcoming spring events and year-end activities. This is a time of anxiety for many families within our community, and so extending a helping hand. And then also, this is a gratuitous plug to join our Oaklyn PTA. The Oaklyn PTA, as well as several of the other local Oaklyn nonprofits, they do a phenomenal job of helping to supplement and to support what's happening within our schools. And so we encourage you to get involved. The Oaklyn PTA, they meet on a regular basis. They do meaningful, tangible work to be able to supplement what our students are doing on and off campus, and we encourage you to participate. That concludes the presentation, and do we have questions for the board?
Not a question, just to piggyback, and thank you for the presentation. The Oaklyn Education Foundation as well, just a shameless plug for that group. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that can support anything that school needs, and hopefully we'll talk about a way that it is supporting right now something coming up that I know is not in the budget. So anyway, if anybody's interested in the community and is listening, please feel free to reach out to any of us about that.
All right. Any other questions on the budget? No? All right, we're going to move on to item 4, Committee of the Whole. Do we have a motion? So moved. All in favor? All right. Just a couple quick updates on my end that I wanted to share with the community. We had our March 3rd, we held our second roundtable of the year at our senior center. The focus was community relations. Had a small turnout, but everybody was very engaged. We had some meaningful conversation. Our next roundtable will take place on Monday, May 18th, and the focus will be curriculum and instruction. The Centennial Celebration is coming up. That'll take place on Saturday, May 16th. So look for updates there. It promises to be a really fun night. There'll be our fun day, fun afternoon. Tours of the building. We'll have our unveiling of our time capsule and many other things. That's it for my updates. Anybody have topics or items for Committee of the Whole?
I brought this up in Collingswood, and I promised I would bring it up here tonight. And just to start the discussion, about an operational referendum. So that we try to get out of the cycle of cutting, adding, depending what Trenton does with our state aid from year to year. We do have the ability to do an operational referendum at 4 times during the year, plus the November election, so 5 times between now and when the next budget would be done and finalized. So I would just be remiss if I didn't at least start the discussion with everyone as to the appetite to have the discussion, and, you know, I can add it to every agenda going forward just so we can continue to talk about it. But I think, you know, it's getting harder and harder, as you know, to balance the budgets, and it's also, you know, when we get money, we hire people, and then a year later we lose money, and then we have to, you know, let really great people go. And I would like to get out of this doom cycle, if we can. We didn't take the whole nugget of the tax levy incentive aid. So I just, for consideration purposes, I'd like to just throw that on the table and start a discussion with you guys.
Would this be November 26th or 27th?
This November. So
when-
you can go, you can do a referendum in September. See, I'm going to get these dates wrong again. I do it in September, November, the general election, December, January, and March.
And then, so when would the deadline be for the board to make a decision?
We would have to let the county know 60 to 90 days before we're going to have an election, because we have to do ballots, they have to print the ballots and everything like that. So
And that's,
at a minimum 60, probably closer to 60 to 90.
and the referendum, that's at cost to the county?
If you do it in November, we share the cost with the county. If we do it on our own, we pay the cost.
And how much?
Depends on the number of ballots. The last time I did it in Collingswood, it was maybe 22, 25. Depends on the number of ballots that they mail, because a lot of people vote by mail now. So I won't know the exact bill until after, they mail out all the ballots and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Is there an idea of like how many times the operational referendum we could use it until we're out of the weeds? Is there like a, maybe 3 times, 4 times, or is it just ongoing?
Yeah, there's no limit. I will say Robbinsville went out, the first time they did it, it passed, and then this past year, they did it again and it didn't. So I guess the trick is get it right the first time. A lot of people don't want to ask for more than they think they need, so I guess the job of the board is to figure out the sweet spot. We don't want to overtax our community, but we really should ask for what we need, knowing that prices are continuing to increase. I don't see any end in sight with healthcare. And Aiden, I did start working on your project, but I will say the Aiden asked previously for like a long-term plan for health insurance. I have an outline, very hard to do, because any change that we make to the healthcare would have to be negotiated. So there are some ideas out there. None of them, I think, we can do without the support of the union. But when I have something, I'll bring it back to you. But some of these, the costs are just out of control right now, and out of our control. So I don't know the appetite. I hate to say, because we have the ability to tax, we should. That's not an excuse, but I don't like taking services away from people either. So I just want us to have a discussion.
Can I ask a question? I know that the Collingswood is short on their fair share, but I think it's, 4.2 million? Where does Oakland stand in terms of fair share?
I knew the question was going to come up. Oakland is, sorry, I have a cold. Oakland is okay on your fair share, but you are below adequacy by almost $300,000.
Can you explain what that means?
That means when, in the budget software, Trent looks at your tax levy and how much money they're giving for equalization aid per the funding formula, and they determine what an adequate amount of our budget should be. Okay? And then they compare that to what's actually in our budget. And it's funny because the tax levy obviously comes from us, the equalization aid comes from them, so they add those two together and say this should be what your budget is, but because our budget's less, because we can only increase things by a certain percentage, we're kind of always below. It's like a stupid mathematical. But we're low just about $295,000. And I did look at, when we did the tax levy incentive aid, we left $309,000 on the table. I think we were approved for like almost 700. It was like in the high sixes or something, and we did 450, I think. So, yeah. So, obviously around 300 would be, I'm assuming that like the max that we could ask for.
So just as a little bit of history, just to remind everyone, we had a successful referendum vote that was not operational. It was for capital projects in September 2019. So that was an extra vote, so we incurred whatever that cost was, but it was the end of September, and our community really rallied behind that, and it made some incredible things possible that we could not have foreseen, that a few short months later would have been really, really necessary and probably impossible past then to do. Can you imagine right now trying to equalize HVAC and put in a security booth and redo windows, right? I mean, it was warm, safe, dry, so there was waterproofing done. I mean, roof, yeah. So there'd be we wouldn't have any room for that. And we're still, the thing we haven't said as board members out loud is losing a full-time instructor, which is, in this community, absolutely heartbreaking because we are such a small staff serving so many kids, and we're such a small community. So, I really think this discussion is important. I think last year we were faced with some very tough decisions, and we took a middle road, and I still am behind that. But it is terrible to see, and we wouldn't be here if we had gone higher. So I'm all for doing something that's sustainable, and I think our board has talked about this a lot. If it is an operational referendum, it can't be a Band-Aid for 1 year. It has to be. So I am curious to hear more about Robbinsville and why they had to go back, what was done wrong before we even enter into this. And, what, did you just say we would go for a referendum for 300? Or, should it be more than that?
I have to look and see what the parameters are. Obviously you could ask for more. But based on what we left on the table and our amount that we're below what Trenton determines to be adequate, we're hovering at about 300. Both numbers seem to line up.
Because if my memory serves, it's been the past 3 budgets that we've lost someone, consolidated someone, and then lost someone again. And I remember being at graduation 2 years ago and how heartbreaking it is. And besides the fact that also the instruction that we're doing, bringing in all these new ELA programs and what have you, the implementation, we need the people. So I hear what you're saying, Beth Ann, about how there is absolutely, listen, I work in healthcare, there's no end in sight to what's going on with that. We're not foreseeing any change administratively in, what the federal government's going to be doing. We saw, if anybody, please, I encourage you all to watch the meeting from last night from Collingswood, because that directly affects all of our kids, and it also very much emphasizes in a much bigger community things like the wellness center going away and other things like that. So I'd say any way that we can stave off the inevitable and really be thinking as sustainably as possible, I am all for.
I think also being really clear about what we get for that, right? So can we bring that person back? Can we look at some of the inclusion ideas we had? And if there's an A, B, and a C, where we go a little higher if that was allowed, and that means we do inclusion in these K to 3 grades or whatever you're trying to do. I think the more that we can make it really tangible, what we could offer, I think that would be, great for transparency and also for people to get behind it, knowing what you're getting with that money. And I'm assuming, so what you're asking today is just do you have our okay to move forward with this?
Yeah, are you guys okay continuing to have the discussion?
Yeah.
Because the first date we would go would be September. So I'm not saying let's rush and do it, but if you were looking at September, we would probably want to have a question vetted and voted on the June board meeting. So that's 2 months from now. But again, if we don't go September, you can go November. You can do it in December, January, March. I think when Robbinsville did it the first time, they did March, and then it was approved, so they just slid it right into their budget, right? But I want to at least continue to have the discussion. This is all very preliminary because we just finished the budget, but I want to start looking at projections as to what could be the upside down for next year. Because this time last year when I was doing the budget, who would have expected healthcare to double? So yeah, the projection's only as good as the information I have at the time. But I would probably start doing that to see, right now I'm thinking 300,000, but if the projections are showing that healthcare is going to creep up closer to 30 versus 20, then we might need more. So
use tax levy though, if that isn't there a built-in?
Right now there is a built-in healthcare adjustment.
So
there is.
that would give us that wiggle room. And then can you just explain what the difference would be if we were to go September versus November?
So let me weigh in on that.
Yeah.
So we made the recommendation in Collingswood for November. For one, the actual cost is less. 2, from a campaign perspective, in order to do it right, what we recommended was to take the next several months, so between now and September, to engage our community to do a couple of things. Make sure that we're crystal clear on the values that our budget and our ask need to be aligned to, and 2, to really kind of get a sense of what's the threshold that our community would ultimately find aligns to said value. And selfishly, board members don't want to be campaigning over the summer. And so, and most of our community members are not necessarily going to be available for engagement during the summer. And so November gives us the opportunity to really take between now and September to engage our community, get a general understanding, carefully and thoughtfully craft an appropriate question to go to the ballot measure, and then it gives us 60 to roughly 75 days to actually campaign, to talk about the particulars and the details leading up to a November vote, where we have a pretty good turnout in Oaklyn in terms of general election, and so we believe that that would give us the best possible option to talk to and engage the most members within our community.
And there's, I only know of this because there's been some campaigning already. There's some town council members that will be on the ballot as well. So I agree about November. I also want to point out that the last time we did this, we took advantage of the Final Friday events over the summer. So I disagree. I think I, for one, will be happy to campaign all summer long. So I think we should talk about having a table there with information. I really think it's a great time to get our talking points together and really engage the community. I know on May 18th is focused on curriculum, but I think it's something that we should just start talking about in general. And the last thing I'll say about this is I feel like it would behoove us to be in lockstep with Collingswood if they're doing the same thing. Jimmy did an incredible job representing our community last night at their board meeting, and I think we talk about it a lot, about how our kids are affected by what happens over there, but we act like we can't do anything. And this is kind of an opportunity to do that, aside from Jimmy's amazing service on that board. So I feel like if we are using the same messaging, working together, it just makes a lot more sense, but I'm curious to hear what others think of that.
You read my mind, Therese, about the summer. Yeah, I totally think that if we just do decide to go forward with the referendum, we should start as soon as possible. I think one of the biggest concerns is the community not feeling like their input is considered, and giving us the flexibility to start in the summertime allows us to hear from as many community members as possible. And another thing too is, I know last time around with the Collingswood referendum, there was a lot of grievances from community members where they felt like their voices weren't completely heard. So I think the longer we campaign, the better, because it allows us to have more voices.
I agree. I think waiting until November makes the most sense. Same.
So I'm going to keep this a standing agenda item, and we'll just keep talking about it, but I'm hearing November. And again, we could do it in either committee of the whole, or if you just want to convene, and we can do committee of the whole, but once I get more information, I can bring it to the whole group, or whatever.
I think we should talk in committees and committee of the whole.
Perfect, okay. Thank you for entertaining me.
Can I just jump in? Just romance me real quick with this. How was it before Christie signed the 2% cap? How did this work?
Okay, so way back in the olden days when I was starting out, every April, so the election for board members and the vote on the budget was in April. They were not in November. And it was unlimited. You just balanced your budget, right? So it's like the last piece that fits is your tax levy, right? And then you go to your community. And it was crazy because I actually ran the elections. The county didn't run them. So I was actually pulling the ballots, doing the selection of the ballot. We had to do all of that ourselves in the board office. If it passed, great. If it went down, which is what a lot of school districts didn't like, if your budget went down, it goes to your borough. It would go to your borough, and it would go through what's called a defeated budget process, where I would have to deliver to the borough the copy of the budget and all my supporting documentation, and they would decide what to cut. And 9 times out of 10, it's without input from the school district. It's just so in communities where everybody gets along, not a problem. In communities where people don't get along, big problem, because you have mayors making decisions for the school board members, and people get, upset about that in certain communities locally around here. So Christy came in and said, well, we can get rid of that friction. Everybody just agrees to every year your tax levies go up 2%. If you can live within the 2%, you can move your election to November. Now unfortunately you're with all the other politicians, but we're going to move everything to November, and then you don't have to have that pull and that tug with your local municipality. And then now that I'm on a soapbox, way back when also you could retain your fund balance. Right, so what they did was, after Christie raided all of our coffers and took our capital reserve monies that he didn't have any right to take, they limited how much we could keep in our savings, right? So I can only have 2% of my total expenditures from the year prior. It's like a calculation. They said, this is how much you're allowed to keep locally, and the rest they call excess surplus and has to go back to the taxpayers. But back in the day, you could just save and save and save and save. But, so, yeah, they took all that away.
So I ask because just if for whatever reason someone waves the magic wand and that goes away, I don't think it would go back to that way, right? There would be another formula most likely, but
yeah, I don't think it would ever.
Yeah, it wouldn't go back the way it was. But.
I mean, as a board, you have the right, because we voted to move from April to November, you have the right to move to go back to the old way. I don't know that anybody's going to legislate to go back to the old way, but you as a board can say, it's getting too hard to balance our budget, we want to go back to the old way. And we're going to move everything back to April and put it out for a vote and ask the taxpayers and whatever. You can move your election, but I don't think too many school districts are doing that. Only a couple have voted to go backwards.
Any other items for committee of the whole? All right, do we have a motion to close committee of the whole?
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor? All right, moving on to item 5, future dates.
I do have a comment about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to just jump in here. The last item, the Collingswood Senior Scholarship Night, that conflicts with a board meeting that we have on May 21st. So if everybody could just let me know if rescheduling to May 26th, rescheduling the board meeting to May 26th works for everybody. If not, then we'll have to work something out, because Ms. Bolden can't be in 2 places as well. We love her, but I can't split her in half and send her to 2 places. But it's
We have a lot of absences. You'll have to go through an email.
yeah, I'll send an email out, Jen, but if I can, we would like you in both places. Because both, they're both important. It's Teacher of the Year.
I do think that the Teacher of the Year will necessarily be moved to the 26th.
All right, on the 26th, you're going?
I say keep it. Let's let the travel scholarship thing. And she could pop over during.
Yeah, as long as just send me an email, let me know, Liz is totally good, and then,
I talked to her right
all right, so disregard my comments. Never mind.
Thank you for
Jen fixed it.
working it all out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have Staff Appreciation Week coming up, so thank you to all the teachers in Oaklyn for everything they do for our kids. We have Muffins with Mom coming up on May 1st. May 7th, we have our kindergarten class trip. Monday, May 11th through Friday the 15th is NJSLA state testing. That's in grades 3 through 5th. And then we have 5th grade science as well. That's a new test this year, different from what we've done in the past. Thursday, May 14th is a second grade class trip. Friday, May 15th is our Centennial Assembly and School Celebration. We also have our roundtable. That's on the, is that the 15th or the 18th?
No, it's the 18th.
18th, right? Yeah.
And do we decide where we're having it?
I believe it's Senior Center as well. Yeah. May 16th, as I mentioned, we have our Oaklyn Centennial Celebration for OPS. And May 21st is the Scholarship Night and our next board meeting. Moving on to item 6, routine board business. Do we have approval to, or a motion to approve the minutes from March 17th?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor? Motion passes. You want to do this one? You read the whole thing down? All right. Moving on to item 7, our annual appointments, and Mrs. Coleman will take it away.
Everybody get used to hearing my voice, and I ran out of water, so let's pray for me. Okay. So this is the annual reorg section of the budget where we're going to do all of our annual appointments, and I'll speak as quickly as possible. It's a long one. 7.01. We're appointing, the annual appointment, you're appointing me as the secretary of the board, the auditor, the school doctor, and the attorney. 7.02, appointing Brown & Brown as the broker of record for your health insurance. 7.03, your broker of record for non-health insurance, that'd be your workers' comp, property liability, Hardenberg Insurance Company. 7.04, architect of record. We're going to continue with Garrison Architects as the district architect of record. 7.05, the official bank, if those of you who don't know, First Colonial Community Bank is now merged with Mid-Penn. So we are going through the conversion right now, but Mid-Penn will now be the official bank. 7.06, the official notification of legal notices will be on the Oaklyn School District website, and the link is in the agenda. 7.07 is the listing of all the signature authorizations, basically who signs which bank account, like which checks. 7.08 is approving me as the qualified purchasing agent for Oaklyn and setting my bid amount at $53,000 and my quote amount at $79.50. 7.09 is just authorizing me to purchase CDs and any banknotes for investment purposes as funds permit. 7.10 is authorizing me to transfer wires to pay bills that require that, and the only one I really do is your bond. That has to get wired every year, twice a year. 7.11 is just approving me to promptly handle school business affairs and to pay invoices, and sometimes between board meetings I have to pay, but then I'll bring it to the board at the next month for ratification. That's mostly your utilities. They're always on an odd week. Custodian of records is approving me as a custodian of records, and Stephen Burns as the alternate custodian of records. And in that capacity, we handle all your OPA requests. 7.13 is approving John Longo, and this is a long one, as the district's asbestos management officer, safety and hygiene designee, integrated pest management coordinator, chemical hygiene officer, and asbestos hazardous emergency response act coordinator. 7.14 is approving myself and John Longo and Steve Burns as the right-to-know POSHA officers. 7.15 is approving me as the PACO, the Public Agency Compliance Officer. 7.16 is approving Dr. Walker as the Compliance Action Officer for Affirmative Action. 7.17 is approving Dr. Whitehouse as the Compliance Action Officer responsible for 504s. 7.18 is approving Omni Group as our third-party administrator for the district's 403B investment plan tax shelter. 7.19 is approving Mary Hopkins as the homeless liaison. 7.20 is approving Jen Bolden as the issuing officer for working papers. 7.21 is approving Dr. Dana Walker as a Title IX coordinator. 7.22 is we're approving the school safety and security plan, and that includes the emergency operation plan, crisis prevention, and response procedures in the emergency management plan. 7.23 is approving Jen Bolden as the school district safety specialist. 7.24 is approving Dr. Whitehouse as the ADA officer. 7.25 is just acknowledging that we approve and collect and maintain all student records in accordance with New Jersey law. 7.26 is a listing of the special education programs offered in the district. 7.27 is a listing of the, as required, educator practice rubrics, Charlotte Danielson framework. 7.28 is the annual adoption of all of our school board policies and bylaws, which are on the school district website. 7.29 is approving all of the substitute rates listed. So we have teachers, teacher subs, building subs, instructional assistant, secretary, tutor, nurse. And with that, I need approval of items 7.01 through 7.29.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved, Damian. Seconded. Any comments or questions?
I have more of a comment regarding 7.02. Thank you for starting the exploring other options. I was doing a little bit of research, and I think way back the district applied for, was it
The shift?
Shift.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah, they wouldn't bid on our, we were just too small.
do you think if we tried again this time around, do you think we would get the same result?
I could try.
Because would that be a cheaper option?
It depends. They look at our experience rating, and we are such a small group. Small groups they consider to be risky, but I can always ask.
Yeah,
The worst they can
whatever.
say is that they refuse to bid on our work.
Okay.
The issue is the shift is seeing a lot of applications, obviously, because a lot of people are bailing out of the school employee health benefits plan. So they're seeing a massive uptick in people trying to get out of the state plan. But yeah, I can always ask again.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, on a roll call.
Sorry. Ms. Dunham.
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco.
Yes.
Mrs. Pelt.
Yes.
Sorry. Sounded like Aiden was like, not quite sure. Mrs. Marmion. Yes. Mr. McMillan.
Yes.
Mr. Tapey.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Moving on to our first public comment section of the night. This public comment section is for items listed on the agenda. Public's reminded to keep comments to 5 minutes or less. Additional, more general comments may be made later in the evening. And our second public comment, any public comment? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item 9, the superintendent's report.
Section 9.01 is the enrollment report. March of 2025 is 269. March of 2026 is 274. That is attached. .02, 03, and 04 are the safety drill, suspension, and anti-bullying. And just have a few announcements. Congratulations again to all of our Hawk heroes. And so, just commending and celebrating Abigail, Grady, Aylin, Parva, Maris, and David for going above and beyond to be respectful on campus. Just wanted to reiterate again to save the date for Saturday, May 16th for our centennial celebration for our community. We'll be sending out more information soon. On Thursday, April 23rd, we honored students inducted into the World Language National Honor Society and celebrated the students receiving the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy. Seniors honored will receive a World Language Honor Cord to wear at graduation in June. The World Language honorees pledge to maintain high scholastic standing in foreign language, to continue to maintain high overall scholastic standing, to hold fundamental and worthy and untarnished character, to endeavor intelligently and courageously to be a leader in the foreign language area, and to continue their interest in the study of language, culture, and civilization. And so we celebrated 8 students in the French National Honor Society, 7 in the German National Honor Society, 4 in the Spanish National Honor Society, and we had 7 students achieve the seal of biliteracy in Spanish and 1 to achieve the seal of biliteracy in German. We'll be sending out the names of all of those students in our updates post-meeting. We'd also like to acknowledge that last night, under the guidance of advisors Ms. Tosh and Ms. Gillen, Collingswood Middle School inducted 50 dedicated students into the National Junior Honor Society. The National Junior Honor Society elevates the school's commitment to values of scholarship, service, leadership, character, and citizenship, helping middle-level students develop the knowledge and skills to become well-rounded student leaders in their schools, community, and beyond. And so congratulations to all of those honorees as well for this outstanding achievement. Their names will also be sent out to our community. We would also just like to give just a recognition and a plug. Our communications liaison, Ms. Lori Perlow, was honored this past month as the 2026 New Jersey Communicator of the Year. And so this prestigious award recognizes exemplary leadership and commitment to enhance communication and relationship building between public schools and the stakeholders that they serve. And so congratulations to Lori. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McDowell. Moving on to item 10, Business Administrator Board Secretary Report.
All right, item 10.01 is a listing of the March 2026 monthly transfers. 10.02 is your Board Secretary and Treasurer of School Funds reports. 10.03 is the purchase orders issued for the month of April. And in 10.04 are the warrants to be paid tomorrow morning pending approval tonight. Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, because Kim's not here. Okay, items 11.01 through 11.06 are all of those financial items that I just mentioned. 11.07 is the final school district budget approval. 11.08 is the final preschool budget approval. The preschool office did have comments and questions about our preschool budget. I did answer them. They did not get back to me, so I'm doing a final budget approval. You may see this again. Who knows? They have not answered me. 11.09 is a listing of your 2026-2027 tuition rates. 11.10 is approving the 2026-2027 public employer trust agreement. So this is the public employer trust. This is the health insurance group that we're in, Aiden, just so you know. 11.11 is approving NutriServe Food Service Management Company to be our food service management company for 26-27 at a flat rate of $18,643. This is year 2 of a potential 5-year agreement. 11.12 is approving Phoenix Advisors as the school district continuing disclosure agent. To make sure that because we did issue bonds that they send my audits and my financial statements to the Municipal Security Reporting Board to make sure that we're filing correctly. 11.13 is Gloucester County Special Services School District CREST program. This is a listing of any of the services that any of the children that we send to Gloucester County Special Services. So list the rates for OT, PT, one-on-one aids, things of that nature. And then 11.14 and 11.15 are use of facility requests. So items 11.01 through 11.14.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, the roll call.
Ms. Downham? Yes. Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Falpel?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion? Yes. Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to item 12, Curriculum and Personnel Committee. Mr. DeMarco.
Before I start, apologies if I sound out of breath. I'm still recovering from really bad allergies. It was one or the other for me. Before I start, I just want to reiterate what Therese said, that the reduction of a full-time employee is a really big loss for our district, and I think that we can all agree that everyone on this board tries to do our best with what we have. So 12.01 is the approval of field trips. 12.02 is the approval of substitutes and tutors. Item 12.03 is the travel expense report. 12.04 is the literacy curriculum that we've been talking about. 12.05 is the Alex's Lemonade Stand approval. 12.06 is the approval of a revised paid leave of absence for an employee. 12.07 is the approval of a paid leave of absence. 12.08 is the approval of the 2026 to 2027 administrative staff. 12.09 is the approval of 2026 to 2027 tenured faculty. 12.10 is the approval of 2026 to 2027 non-tenured faculty. 12.11 is the approval of 2026 to 2027 tenured office service personnel. And 12.12 is the approval of 2026 to 2027 non-tenured office service personnel. So we are looking to approve items 12.01 to 12.12.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
So, the two pilot programs, they're going with the HFHS into reading? Okay, I'm not thrilled by that, but just put that on record.
Yeah, on a roll call.
Ms. Dunham?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Falpel?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to item 13, school community relations and policy. Mrs. Marmion.
Good evening. Item 13.01 is a Collingswood Board report. Mr. McMillan.
Good evening. I know a lot of you have watched the meeting from last night. NBC 10 was there. That was exciting. Right behind my head. So he said it was going to air at 11 o'clock, and I was like, I'm not going to watch that. I'm good. It was only like, he said it was going to be like a 10-second clip, so we did a presentation of the budget just as we did tonight. We were honestly a little worried about the vote on the budget, but it did pass, so we had a lot of discussions back and forth, but we did pass. It was great. The student report was presented, and then they said that a lot of the high school kids wanted to know about the budget deficit, and they had concerns about it as well. They said they have AP exams scheduled for next week. Every time I have to do this, Fred always takes away all the really positive stuff, like the recognition of the foreign language honors and in German, French, and Spanish. They have a new softball coach, and everything is going well there. We did vote to close Garfield out. That's unfortunate. Having to close the school is never a great moment. Just like losing teachers, and we had to riff about 30 faculty members across administration, faculty, like building grounds everywhere. There was an autism advocacy walk in Knights Park. Finding Nemo Jr. ended last weekend, paving the way for Broadway Nights, which is coming up May 8th and 9th. Tickets are still available. There were 21 public comments, most of them concerned about Garfield closure, the grant-funded wellness center being closed, and other special ed service concerns, as well as faculty riffs. Discussion of operating referendums, again, was discussed last night, and that'll be happening in Collingswood as well. I think committees are being set up right now to start working on those. But any questions?
Actually, are you, it might be too early, but are you thinking about being on a committee about an Operation Referendum? I'm just trying to figure out what would be a good way for us to coordinate with Collingswood for that work.
The committees have been created, and I was not involved, nor was Chris Stolkus from Woodland on any of the committees, including, well, yeah, like all of them, so, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Maybe we can continue discussion with that at the leadership level?
I think we need to revisit it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, okay, thanks. We'll look to you, Dr. McDowell, maybe to help be a conduit between our leaders.
I will strongly encourage that we pivot.
Yeah.
So we have a meeting tomorrow with Kelly and Zakia.
Okay.
That'll be front and center in our discussions.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Item 13.02 is PTA liaison report, but Mr. DZ is not here. I can just fill in and say I know the PTA had a meeting at the top of the month. They will have a meeting, I think it's Tuesday evening is their next meeting, and they had one in April. There was a family fun night last Friday. I think it was bingo, and always they're such a success, and I know they're working very hard on Muffins with Mom tomorrow morning. I'm sad to miss it because my little one is recovering from surgery, but it's the first one we're missing in years. Anyway, that'll be out front of the school tomorrow morning, and I know they're doing a lot for the Centennial, so thanks to the PTA for all of their support and work this year. Item 13.03 is the OMASAC report, but Mr. Genther's not here, so I think we'll wait for it next month for that. And then item 13.04 is the Oaklyn Education Foundation, and Ms. Love is not here. I'll just say that the leadership of the OEF has approved to support the Centennial with some budget dollars, which is fantastic because it's going to be used for things. Ms. Bolden and our PTA and all of our leadership have some wonderful ideas for making the front of the school look just exquisite for that day on May 16th. So I hope everyone on our board will be able to come. If the board is invited to the Friday event as well, let us know. We'd love to have representation there. So. Item 13.05 are policies for first read. We have added on, and I think we talked about this in our post-committee minutes, item 2430 is co-curricular activities that Ms. Howell Turner put on our agenda just to align with Collingswood. 5200 is a revision of our attendance policy. 4352 is sexual harassment for support staff. It's an abolishment of this. And 3362 is an abolishment of the sexual harassment certified staff policy, all for replacements. 2530 is resource materials revised. Item 13.06 are policies for a second reading. 0142.1 is a revised nepotism policy. 1220, employment of chief school administrator revised. 1552, sexual harassment staff, which is a new policy as referenced in the other abolishment. 2535 is library material. This is also a new policy. 9130 are public complaints revised. And then 13.07, a few regulations that require one reading. 1552, sexual harassment for staff, which is new. 2535, library material, which is new with the aligning policies. 9130, public complaints, and then 2530, resource materials revived. So we are seeking approval for items 13.05 through 1307.
Do we have a motion? Second. Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none?
I have one real quick. What's the Friday night before the Centennial event?
It's actually a daytime event. It's on the list of special dates. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So more information soon. It's during the day. It's a very nice, to involve, it's wonderful that you're doing something during the day for, during the school day in case people can't come on the weekends and what have you, so.
You said night.
I may have, sorry. It's been a long day.
Good to go? Ms. Downham?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Flappel?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to item 14, miscellaneous. We are looking for approval of items 14.01, HIB reports, 14.02, review of the official State of New Jersey HIB grades. So we're looking for approval of those two items. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Any comments or questions? All right, on a roll call.
Mrs. Downham?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Flappel?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to our final public comment section of the night. Do we have any public comment? I don't think we do. All right. Moving on to item 16 is adjournment. All in favor? Or we need a motion first. A motion? And second?
Second.
All in favor? Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Lots of ice cream. Oh my God, I can't believe I drank all that water. And I'm like, I don't know if it's allergies or a cold. But I'm getting on a plane on Sunday, so it's better to go away.
Yeah, that's not fun.